Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Spookiest small-town local stories and myths. What's yours?
Be me, 10 years old, staying at my grandparents' farm over the weekend, in the middle of rural northwest Arkansas forest, 30 minutes from the closest town. All kinds of wildlife out here. Deer, foxes, black bears, mountain lions, snakes, crazy bugs, all that shit. Around 10 p.m. I am alone on the porch listening to the radio, grandparents inside watching TV. Nighttime, pitch black. Only light is coming from the porch light, watching all the moths and beetles bounce around it. For a moment, look out into the darkness. About 10 feet in front of me, something catches my eye. I can't see exactly what it is. It's flying, not slowly or quickly, just flying at a normal pace. Then it starts glowing green. It's not a constant glow. It glows for a moment, then stops glowing again. It glows about once every 2 seconds. Can only see it when it glows, but it's obviously flying, even though I can't see its wings. Easily several inches long and, according to the glow it gives off, is some kind of cylindrical shape. Creeped me out how straight it was and flew smoothly like a machine. Assume it's some strange bug I'd never heard of before. Watch it disappear into the distance. Not a firefly because it's far bigger and isn't the same shape. Only other bugs in the region that glow can't fly. WTF.jpg. I'm now 20 and I still have no idea what it was that I saw. Pic related is a rough drawing of what it looked like. The yellow area represents the light from the porch.
I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, less than 1,000 people in it. Next to my hometown, literally like 10 minutes away, is a town called Winfield. There was a high school there, think it's abandoned now, that was pretty large. The principal had an infant son that passed away, and he looked to an alien cult called the Raelians to clone his son in part of the chemistry wing of the school he cordoned off. Eventually, the feds got wind of it and shut it down. One day my friend told me that he was walking around a pond near his house and saw a mass of people in black robes gathered around it and chanting. I have no clue if it's related, but I have a hard time thinking it's not. I wonder if they managed to do anything else in my area without getting caught. DuPont used to have plenty of plants down there. Maybe that would attract them for whatever else they plan to do. Plus the general isolation of the area. Everyone knows about the Mothman now. Not many people know about Indrid Cold. He showed up to Point Pleasant, West Virginia about a week before the Mothman did. People claimed they could communicate telepathically with him, and he turned a room cold just by being in it. He had a weird sheen to his skin, and spoke with a cadence that sounded like he didn't speak English very well with an odd accent. Eventually, the family that fostered him got visited by men in black. Talk to old-timers today in the area, and they may have met him.
Not green texting because I struggle to keep my writing comprehensible as is. I worked as a police officer in my small hometown for a few years before leaving to pursue a degree. I responded to a haunted house once. Mom and her 7-year-old daughter rented the house for a week or two while the husband was out ocean fishing. Mom calls in that she thinks somebody is in the house. 5 officers, including myself, arrive on scene and set a perimeter. This is fairly easy as the house has a well-lit exterior, and one side of the house is right next to the neighboring one. We leave 3 on the exterior to cover the obvious exits, 1 K9 in the back. There were no footprints in the sandy yard. This is a beach area close to the coast. The lady had told dispatch that she and the daughter were in a bedroom and had heard light footsteps out in the hallway, and she could see under the door that there was a shadow cast as if somebody was standing outside her door. The bathroom across the hallway's light was on, allowing the shadow to be seen. It was about 11 p.m. on a weeknight in the winter. Nothing really happened across the whole county, hence 5 officers jumping at a chance to do something. Once we had the 3 guys on perimeter, we had to have dispatch call the lady back to let us in since the doors were locked. She comes running with the kid and opens the door, then stands by our cars. I clear the house with one of my shift partners. We are thorough, checking under the beds, in closets, showers, crawl space under the stairs, etc. Nothing but Mom and the kids scared shitless inside. Perimeter officers claim nobody left via any windows or doors. So we talked to the mom. My sergeant is a little hissy because he felt she must have been bullshitting because she was lonely or something. She informs us that all week she had been locking the doors and finding them unlocked, finding cabinets open and finding the lid to the hot tub on the third-floor balcony, which didn't have stairs from lower floors, open despite her strapping it closed. Then the real kicker. She showed us a picture of the crack under the door, and there was a shadow there. Out of curiosity, I closed the door and looked with nobody standing there, and the shadow was not present. Had my partner stand there, and the shadow looked like her cell phone picture. She claimed that the footsteps sounded light, like somebody was barefoot, or a child was running around. We all figured the house must be haunted, and told her to call if there were any other issues, but she said they were going to go to a hotel for the night. With the layout of the house and no footprints in the sand, we really couldn't figure how anyone had slipped us. The front door was deadbolted, so they couldn't have gone up the concrete driveway and deadbolted the door behind them. Had some other creepy situations, but never saw any beasts or monsters other than humans being pieces of shit.
Spooky. It's stories like this that make me willing to believe despite no personal experience. Thanks.
Thanks. Whenever I get together with my buddies from the department, we talk about that one. My sergeant had a story where he thought he saw a drunk guy trespassing on a second-floor deck of a house across from a bar. Went to go check, had an officer watch the building, heard footsteps above him, and had dirt like from under somebody's shoes go between the planks of the deck. But when he got up there, nobody was there. Doors were secured, other officers saw nobody come off the building or out other entrances. I wasn't there for that one, so I can't attest to it, but I always found it interesting. Figured it must have been a ghost or my sergeant imagining things.
Perfect thread. Beamy 17. Biking with a good friend of mine. Fat Polish dude with good strength and endurance. Stop after a football field. We had gone this path many times. Weird trailer with open windows about 25 meters from the path. It's dark inside the trailer, and there seems to be stuff hanging from the walls and roof. A horrible putrid stench hits our noses. I know the smell is from something rotting, like rotten animal carcasses I would find in the woods. Tell him something is dead in there, and I know the smell, it's maybe a horse. I see like fur hanging from the ceiling, like it's rotting away and falling apart from there. It looked like something exploded in the trailer. I tried to pass the gate, but it was heavily locked, and I was scared of what it might be. Then one black BMW with tinted windows rolls slowly into the quiet street. We get on our bikes and move out of the street to act like we weren't actually looking at the trailer. The car stops in front of the trailer as we look back and we bounce. It probably was nothing and just a dead animal, but it looks very weird and made me think of that creepy pasta long horse, so it freaked me out. I hope there's no dead open horse in there or a dead body. I'll be going back there in a few days. I'm 19 now, so don't ban me. Picture is a Google map of the trailer.
Me and friends used to walk a man-made trail through woods outside of town. This is in rural North Carolina. Roughly halfway into the trail is a split or divide of sorts. One way continues the trail back out of woods. The other trail is just a footpath trail made from many people walking through it multiple times over the years. We take a footpath trail. It leads deeper into woods and splits again into two more footpaths. One is dead end, other lead out to an open field where at the end of field is more woods. We get to the field and say, fuck it, go to other side where woods keep on going. Get to the edge of the field and see a new footpath. Follow it and end up coming upon a small clearing that's been cleaned up. Pine straw raked away, leaves raked away, rocks, bushes, etc., all cleared out. Center of clearing has a pentagram in the middle and used candles and shit and a deer skull. Most spurgy thing ever. Decide to come back later and see if anyone shows up. We come back at midnight. Friend has brought his dad's .22 rifle in case shit gets crazy. Get to the end of the field and see the footpath and small light up ahead on the clearing. Be as quiet as possible and sneak close to clearing. See 3 Zoomers in black robes standing around a small fire and pentagram. friend with rifle loads, and shoots at a tree close to clearing, then starts shouting in fake, deep Southern accent about getting pretty boys in robes. 3 guys take off and never see them again. Laugh all the way back to town, though at one point we saw one of them following us, but nothing ever came of it. Fun night.
Be a teenager in high school in the Midwestern USA. Original school is over 100 years old. School was added onto over the years. Lot of paranormal happens, mostly ghosts of dead students and staff. Some teachers are more open about this. One teacher in particular mentions this as part of the mandatory local history unit. A student apparently self-ended by hanging from the balcony in an old auditorium. Old auditorium was made for plays and looked like a small theater. Students had reported seeing dead student hanging from rope from time to time since it happened. Many female students reported being pinched and grabbed by unseen spirit in inappropriate ways while completely alone. Most commonly reported was seeing students that unexpectedly vanish. Ghosts of 3 students that died in a car crash still show up to play pranks. Eventually, the school is demolished and a new school is built less than 100 feet away. Most of these spirits still do what they do in the new building. Hanging Ghost still appears where the theater auditorium was and does not seem to be attached to anything now that the balcony is gone. Her spirit continues to wander around the new high school building when not hanging from Self-End. Somehow this is still one of the top-rated high schools in the US at that time.
Have some shitty Microsoft Paint on the side. Early 2000s, move to the Idaho Panhandle. Get cozy in a new house, chat with neighbors. Still pretty untamed about 20 years ago, dirt roads, wild dogs, etc. Neighbors warned me of this. They are not strays, they are actually wild. Over time, conversations ease into other topics of things to watch out for. Yeah, and every so often there's UFOs, haha. Wait, what? You know, weird stuff flying in the sky. I'm no nutjob, but Jesus Christ, these guys are crazy, but don't let it all show at first. A lot of locals admit to seeing a thing or two over the years that they just didn't get, but didn't think too much about it. Surely all bullshit. Skip forward a few years, about 2005. Goofing around with some friends after dark. Hey, the hell's that over the field? Textbook example of triangular 3 light craft, orange lights, silent. Hey, wouldn't it be crazy if it flew over here and we got a better look? Why did I say this? It banks and starts to drift towards us. We booked it a few blocks back to my house. Spend a few minutes having a little bit of a back and forth to confirm what we saw. Go look outside. Craft drifting away over the fields until it's out of sight. Part 2, short bonus, relatively uneventful going forward after that. No more weird shit in the sky, although also not a whole lot of goofing around in the middle of the night for a while. Over the years, tons of development occurs, housing projects, roads, etc. Less fun stuff, no more wild animals, fewer lifelong locals, no more back in my day I saw stories. Years go by. One day I saw a weird dot in the sky, go out back. A lot of people are out back, all pointing and mumbling. You see that? Yeah, we see it. Just a weird black orb floating in the sky in broad daylight. It isn't massive, but it also isn't small. Completely immobile up there. Suddenly changes from black to metallic, chrome mirror, whatever you want to call it. Zooms off in less than a minute until it clears the horizon.
Live on the Great Plains. Sometimes I wander around tall grass prairies. I've seen big bluestem grow to over 6 feet tall. Big bluestem grows in thick bunches. Big bluestem is a very firm grass. I used to go off path and tramp through the grasslands where there is no path. Grass taller than my head, so thick in some places that I literally can't walk through it. It is stronger than I can push. Extreme closed space, grass on all sides, cannot see anything but what's directly in front of me. Stumble onto a path through the grass where a very large animal has pounded the grass flat. Not a deer or horse, the animal was low to the ground. I ran for my life, which wasn't fast because of grass, and I wasn't going to use that path. It was probably a path made by a mountain lion, except the wildlife services refused to acknowledge mountain lions in my area. If it was a mountain lion, I'm lucky to be alive. I was all alone. Nope.
Sure, I can share some stuff. I come from a small steel town. I went to middle school in an old school, been around since the 1920s, designed to be the air raid shelter for the entire town. So there's like over 8 levels of basement which lead nowhere. The auditorium had a balcony that a maintenance worker fell from and died on the bleachers. Backstage theater crew would complain about random cold drafts and phantom touches. One year the school held a sleepover in the old library. They had pizza, snacks, and watched a movie. Shit got weird when the chaperones left to grab shit from their car. Kids who attended said the entrance/exit doors started opening and slamming shut. Books started flying off the shelves and some of the kids started crying. The teachers came back and yelled at everyone for trashing the place when they were out. So there was never another sleepover. Here's a separate story in another old but different school building. Be a middle schooler. Break into the old abandoned school a few blocks down with some buddies. 2 jocks, 2 girls. Start exploring and looking at old paraphernalia. Trophies, pics, whatever else got left behind. Start destroying shit for a laugh. Door slams shut after trashing a few sports trophies. Scared.jpg. Try to open the door. Jammed shut. Tell the jocks to stop messing around and let us out. No response. Start cussing them out. Hear them approach the door from the end of the hallway. They ask us what happened. Told them the door shut for no reason. Call me and the girls chicken shit and start trying to pry the door open. Won't open. Oh shit. Door is the only exit because the windows are too small to fit through. One of the girls starts hyperventilating and crying. It takes 3 hours to escape. 1.5 hours wasted trying to open it physically. Another 1.5 hours to open the door when one of the jocks decides to sneak home, steal his dad's tools, and rip the door off its hinges.
Abandoned building about a 15-minute drive away. Used to be a train station for coal miners of the town. Apparently a lot of miners off themselves on the tracks. Homeless people still occasionally off themselves on the track. The actual building has no graffiti. The basement has a pentagram that has been covered up many times. It's kinda a meme to go check if the pentagram is back, but someone keeps covering it up. Everyone knows about it. All the people my age, 18, openly talk about it. For some reason, it's often the punching bag for us. That is, screw that haunted-ass train station. It's just mad because no trains go visit it anymore, etc. Older generations don't talk about it because a lot of people off themselves there. Me and my group of friends used to go there to eat Subway and shit talk about the ghosts. Nothing ever happened, and we always talked about spending the night in the basement, but we never did. My house is very close to the tracks, and I hear a train every now and then. I'd say 2 or 3 times a month I hear a train on the track even though it's closed. Everyone else can hear it too. It's loud. My 2 buddies love this building and supposedly hang out there like every day. Here is one of their stories. Be at a party. Want to leave. Decided to go buy some beers and hang out at the train station. It's like 2 a.m. or something. Hear talking from the basement. Basement has an old creepy metal door. They peek behind it. 4 girls of various ages wearing regular hoodies. Sweatshirts with hoods up. Standing around a pentagram lit by candles. Friends look at each other and have the perfect idea. Friend 1 slams the door open. Friend 2 screams as loud as he can. Friend 1 screams too. Keep in mind it's dark, so all these poor girls know is the door swung open and 2 guys screamed really loud. Friends immediately start laughing their ass off. 1 girl is crying. Girls leave in an angry fit. Friends laugh too hard to know what they are saying. Friends kick the candles from the pentagram away and mock the shit out of it. Bless the building and denouncing the pentagram with cheap beer. Spend the night drinking. They then poured their leftover booze on the pentagram and called it a night. They can't keep a straight face when they tell that story, and it's always hilarious to hear them tell it.
Be me, 17. Live in the rural UK. Love to go out into the middle of nowhere to smoke cigs as they're not allowed at home and I can get some exercise in. After about half an hour of walking in hills along bridle paths, I found a nice spot with a great view. Path has been pretty overgrown thus far, as it's not really a useful path for ramblers. It really just makes a big circle around a hill and makes you go about 50 meters up the road from where you originally started out. Sit on a big old stone and light a cigarette. Pulling the lighter out of my pocket makes 50 pence fall out and onto the stone beside me. Don't care, it's 50 pence, and I will come and pick it up tomorrow. Leave, return the next day to smoke. 50 pence is gone, instead there's a shiny pebble in its place. What? I like pebbles, so I pick it up and take it home. Next time I go there to smoke, I put 20 pence on the stone beside me. Sure as hell, the following day there is a pebble in its place. TLDR. There's a stone by a hill near my house where you can trade money for pebbles. Still be me with the same stats. Walking home from school as the last bus stops at 5 p.m. I know my way around pretty well, and if I wander on a farmer's land, I can probably talk my way into getting a quad bike ride a little closer to home. Take what I think may be a shortcut. Path is well walked, so it's easy going, goes through the middle of a field. Old barns and old tools are lying about in the field. Reach the end of the field, it ends in a rusty old gate. On the gate is a sign, scrawled in chalk. On the sign it says, "Welcome." Clamber over the gate and carry on my way. Turns out it was a much shorter way home. Do it a few more times that week. The writing on the sign switches between welcome and goodbye. It's probably just kids, but it's odd, and I enjoy it.
I too grew up in rural UK, specifically Wiltshire. Here are some odd things. In 2001 or something, I had a PC in my room. No internet at that time, as it was on dial-up. I used to wake up in the night and hear a weird noise and foreign voices coming through the PC speakers, even though the PC itself was off. Years later, and mobile phones were a thing, a teacher showed us that signal noise you get through a speaker when a phone is nearby was receiving sending. It was the same sound I heard. There is a large naval radio tower on a hill near my house. I wondered if that had anything to do with it. I can't remember when, but I do remember a very bright and blue flashlight sheet lightning early one morning. It caused our house to have a power cut. Probably just lightning, but it was quite weird. In 2009, I was at Stonehenge for the summer solstice. This was, I think, one of the first times that a drone had been used by British police. You can see it on YouTube. My parents' house overlooks fields and then woods. Pick related. Inside the woods is a retreat used for alternative religion types. They do pagan stuff, etc. It's not really paranormal, to be honest, but it was fun to sneak around as a kid. I have posted some pictures I took back in 2016, if you would like. In 2011, my mum was outside and called me out to have a look at these lights. There were 3 of them in the sky some distance away. They seemed to disappear and reappear. I'm not great at judging distance, especially at night with no real comparison. Obviously, I was into this shit, so I basically just watched them and got a very shitty video of them on my phone. They were there for at least 45 minutes as I actually just got a bit bored. A gamekeeper I know says he once came across a group of people with masks on dancing round a naked woman tied to a tree. My grandmother's friend worked at Bournemouth Airport and did irregular shifts. When working early mornings, she would walk her dog on a golf course, not sure what one. One morning she was walking through a wooded area where she claims she came across a group of men in robes in a circle. One heard her and turned round. He was masked. She turned and ran and told my gran she'd never been so scared in her life. No idea if this is true either. A guy I know who is a former paratrooper looks after a large wooded estate in Dorset. He told me that him and his son were walking one day and saw a very large black cat nearby where I grew up. This happened in 1987. A Royal Air Force nuclear weapon load carrier carrying 2 WE-177 nuclear weapons, seeking to avoid a stationary private vehicle, left the road after skidding on ice and rolled onto its side. A second carrier, which was also carrying 2 weapons, skidded on the road and came to rest partly off the road. The containerized weapons were not damaged. Minor damage was caused to the first load carrier. A bit further away, but not that far away, is where the Aurora allegedly crashed and had problems at takeoff.
Be me last year, semi-rural England. Live in a town but surrounded by woodland, pretty much on 3 sides. Talking to a guy in the pub. His little brother, about 17, is a Wannabe Chav gangster type. A dickhead, basically. Him and a few of his mates go into the woods east of town to smoke weed and start a fire and just generally be delinquent. They hear sticks breaking around them and get all paranoid. Some guy in the dark starts screaming at them, no words, just going, "Ah!" over and over again, getting louder and angrier every time. They run off. About 4 months after that, hear about a young couple walking through the woods, doing a kind of spooky walk thing. All sorts of rumors about the woods, and people sometimes go walking at night and try and scare each other. They get chased out by a guy they can't see in the dark, but who keeps shouting random angry noises at them. About a month ago, some guy walking his dog gets attacked in the woods at about 6 in the morning. Says a filthy guy with no shoes on ran at him with a stick and started beating him until his dog scared it off. Looks like there is a crazy homeless person living in the woods near my town.
Lakes always seem to attract spooks. The creepiest thing that's ever happened to me was near a lake, be about 15, hanging with 3 friends in the village square at night. We walked past the lake. We live in a rural village, so drunk old people end up falling in the lake and drowning every few years. I suggest walking down the path by the lake for the spoops. Suddenly, one of my friends tenses up and insists that we don't go down there. It was really out of character for him, so I'm pretty creeped out. We end up pissing around in the square for another couple of hours before we start to head back home. We passed by the lake on the way back. I see a man on the other side of the road near the lake. It's 2 a.m., so this is pretty weird. It only got weirder when he walked under a streetlight. He was completely black. I mean, he was like a shadow, even when lit up by the street lamp. His clothes were the same color of his skin, and is wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a trench coat. He looked a lot like the GameSpy guy, but completely black. I froze and pointed him out to my mates. The same guy who got spooked by the lake saw him and started breathing heavily. My other friend couldn't see the guy and was confused. I looked away for a split second to point him out again, and he completely vanished. I spent the rest of the night playing World of Warcraft because I was way too spooked to go to sleep. A few days later, I kind of pushed the incident out of my mind. I go on my computer and see a load of messages on MSN from my 2 friends that were with me that night. They sent me a picture of a page from our village's newspaper. It turns out some old man drowned himself in the lake the same night we were walking past it. We walked past a dead body twice in the same night. The spookiest part about this, though, was that the old man was in his 70s. I don't know how ghosts work, but the black ghost we saw looked around 20 or 30. I sometimes wonder whose ghost I actually saw that night, or if it was a ghost at all. I don't know if I should have posted this in the Nope thread instead. I just thought it fit in this thread better considering I still live in the area and go past that lake every day on the way to work.
This one happened a few months ago. Be me. Live in a shitty seaside town in Wales, UK. 19 years old. Spend a lot of time just me and my friends hanging out in each other's cars late at night. Enjoy taking creepy walks at night. One night we drove to the beach at 2 a.m. Heavily commercialized beach, nothing inherently creepy about it. Stretches out around 2 miles. Decide to take a walk down there. Goofing around, fighting in the sand, bros being bros. Walk along the beach for 5 minutes and hit an area that's very duny. See a bunch of orange lights in the far distance about half a mile away. Area of the beach is mostly unused apart from the odd dog walker, right next to a chemical plant. Kind of flickering. Start to get a little creeped out. Decide to push on further, but are mostly quiet. As we get closer, we realize the lights are moving. Not just moving, but rhythmic moving. Few friends want to leave, but I encourage them to push forward. As we get really close, we huddle down behind a big sand dune and peer out from the corner of it. About 200 feet away now. We can see clearly. About 8 or 9 people dressed in red holding torches. Actual torches. Fairly windy, so I couldn't hear anything. Surprised the torches were even lit. We are all watching in complete silence, occasionally looking at each other in awe. I couldn't believe it. It looked like some outrageous cliché cult. After about 5 minutes of watching them stand there and move their torches rhythmically, they stop moving. Heart sinks, just standing still for about 2 minutes. All their torches go out at the same time, so dark cannot see them anymore. Me and friends booked it out of there and back to the car terrified. Still not sure what I was looking at. We talk about it from time to time, but it really freaked out one of my friends who was convinced he was getting followed for a few weeks after it.
About me, Flip Anon, 23 years old, office worker at a sugar factory. Currently the milling season, milling 24/7, assigned at night shift. 11 p.m. gets hungry. Decide to buy some food at a town nearby, about a 3 minutes walk. No vehicle, so I decided to do it on foot. There's a bridge at the entrance of town. As I walked on the bridge, I heard the sound of someone snorting like about to spit a sputum. Looked around. There's no one. Looked back. Shit. I saw a ghost. Saw a kid about 7 to 10-year-old boy, really pale, like grayish pale. He was floating on air, holding his neck, and it's leaking blackish blood. I screamed and ran, reached the center of the town in no time. One of the local eatery cooks asked me what's wrong. Tell them everything. One of the customers heard me. Old dude. My estimate is in his late 60s. He tells me when he was a kid, there was a well-known rumor that happened before he was born. Before the bridge is built, they say that a kid was killed by the people who built the bridge as a sacrifice. His blood was mixed on the foundations of the said bridge. Also, according to him, some dude in that town who is dead by now due to old age saw the people who were mixing blood on concrete when they're building the said bridge. This happened in 1948 or 9.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.